Hi guys, I'm Katrina here with RoofSnap, and today I'd like to go over just kind of basic account setup. For those of you who might be in trial with us, this will be a good reference to kind of getting started with setting up your account for estimating purposes using RoofSnap. For those of you who might be current customers and just haven't yet had a chance to kind of take a look at the account setup stuff on the back end through the website, this will be a good tool just to kind of get you started. This is just going to be kind of a basic overview for you. There are some other previously recorded tutorials that we've done that go a little more in detail as far as setting up materials and pricing and things like that. Today I kind of want to take a look at more of the generic office settings and get you started with a glimpse at what all that kind of looks like. So I'm going to transition over to the website here, and I'm still down here in the bottom of the screen here, so you're not just looking at my website page. But here's the RoofSnap website. If you haven't already had a chance, we do have a 14-day free trial, and I do encourage everyone to give that a go, get your hands on the software, and then of course be able to access all of this stuff through your trial and into being a customer with us. So to start off today, I'm actually going to log into my account here on the website, and all of the account setup stuff that we're going to do, and you'll see here today, this is all done through the website by logging into your account here. I do recommend doing this stuff from a computer, doing it from an iPad. There's a few drag and drop kind of functions that's very difficult to do, if not impossible to do, from an iPad. So this stuff can be done from a desktop, and that's probably going to be the best experience for you. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my account here and get my page loaded up here. So this is the first account page that you'll see, and of course you can update payment method here. It lets you know some information about your subscription, and if you want to go more in depth, maybe do a one-on-one with either myself or my colleague Jason, you can do that here at the bottom of the screen. You can sign up for one of these live demos or book a 1-hour training session with one of us to go a little more and in-depth if needed. But let's take a look at some of these settings here. So when you're a customer or even in trial, you can add users to your account, whether you are a month-to-month subscriber, and then of course if you are an annual subscriber. We'll take a look at some of those subscription plans a little later, but if you do have multiple users, there's a couple user settings that are going to be beneficial for you to know. So I'm going to hop over here to users and just take a look here. So Abby is a user in the account here, and I want to take a look at some of her settings. So I've added her in. And of course, to add a new user, you can press on this green button here and fill out the information to register that user. Once you do so, of course, you'll want to go back and look at their kind of settings. So here in users, I'm going to look into Abby's just by pressing on the edit button next to her name here. And here's where I can put in some more information about the users that I'm adding to my RoofSnap account. So I can put in her contact information, her phone number if needed, her position, and here's also where you can set overhead percentage, commission percent, and then what kind of commission type they have. So either gross profit or a percentage of the contract price, whatever pertains to you. And then role. The roles are pretty important here. The account admin will have access to all of the stuff that I'm showing you today. They'll have access to this back account, to the materials, the setup, and everything like that, as well as they'll have the availability to log into other users' accounts on the app. So that's kind of what the admin role is. The sales app only, that role is for, of course, your sales team or anyone that really just needs the ability to use the app. And you can also customize what their allowances are on the app. So if you feel comfortable with their ability to be able to change pricing, line item pricing, you'll want to check this box. If you want to prohibit that ability, you'll want to uncheck that box. Maybe you just want them to use the pricing that you've set here on the back end and not have the capability to change that on a per project basis. So that kind of allows you to set that parameter. And then viewing summary reports. So this is labor summary and such that are reports you can generate on the app. You can allow or disapprove their ability to see those. And then, of course, hit the update button. When you add a new user to your account, you do want to make sure that you submit them to the appropriate offices. You can have multiple offices based on, maybe you have an office for insurance purposes and maybe one for cash jobs, or perhaps you work in different states and they have different tax rates and you use different suppliers, things like that. You can add different offices. So you want to make sure that you add the users to the appropriate offices, and you can use this little drop-down menu to select which offices apply to them. Make sure they're added to at least one, and you can, of course, add them to as many as they need to be added to. All right, so let's go back to the account page here and take a look. So we're just in users. Let's go ahead and jump into offices here on the side menu. I'm going to click in here, and we've got a few different offices here in this demo account that I'm in. But I want to see a little more in detail with my RoofSnap demo office. So I'm going to hit the edit button right next to the office and kind of hop in and see different settings that we can do here. So here on our first office settings, of course, I can put in the name of my office, the address details, and then sales tax if that applies. So you could put in a sales tax rate, and then of course this menu here, the true or false, you want to set based on if you want tax to be on materials only, you'll set that to true. If you want to tax both materials and labor, you'll set that to false. And then, of course, hit the Save button up here on the right-hand side. So let's just kind of go down the list here and get a sense of kind of this basic setup. The contract. Let's take a look here. There is an HTML editor, so you can put in your own contract terms. The short version, of course, will show up right below all of your scope of work, all of your specification items, and then the long terms is the back page for all intents and purposes of the contract. And there is an HTML editor in here, so you can click into the short terms, you can click on that editor, and you can make changes to this. This is basic non-legally binding language in here that we just got off the internet as a placeholder for the contract section. So of course, when people are in trial with us, they can kind of see what that looks like, but you can edit this. If you're not familiar with HTML and kind of these stylings and things like that, I would probably recommend sending in your contract language to support@roofsnap.com, and we're happy to format that for you when you're a customer and load that into your account. If you are semi-familiar with HTML, feel free to edit any of this language and stuff in here. It's not a copy and paste kind of situation. So just be careful when you're doing this, and if you need any help, of course, give us a call at 877-766-3762, or like I said, just email your contract terms into support@roofsnap.com, and we're happy to take that off your plate. All right, so let's go to the pre-start checklist here in the office. This is a text box. So this is, you can copy and paste in here. It's just plain text, or type out any questions that you might have here. And this is something that you can kind of go over, maybe before you do an estimate or something like that, and maybe a list of questions that you have for your customer. These can be editable. You can list whatever you need to here, and your customer can actually sign when you populate the pre-start checklist. You can fill these answers out, and your customer can sign the pre-start. So that's kind of a nice function to have, but you can go ahead and edit any of this stuff, just plain text, no stylization in this form, and hit the save button here on the top. The logo, let's go down here. So here's where you can upload your logo, and you want to choose a file, have your logo saved to your computer, and hit this choose file button, and it's going to pop up what's on your computer here, and you can pick the logo file that you have and tap this upload image button, and you'll see that upload here where our logo is, and then of course make sure you hit the save button. I feel like a broken record, but that save button gets me all the time. So let's head down to documents. This is where you can kind of customize what you show and what you hide on some of your document settings. So if you want to, make sure that the line item totals don't show up on your estimates, or maybe you want to hide the quantities on your estimates, you can do that here just by checking or unchecking these boxes. Let's see, same with contracts. If maybe you don't want to show the quantities, you can check this box here, and it's just going to show the line item name, and it won't show the quantity on there for the contracts. Sometimes we want to hide our material pricing on our material orders. Our supplier knows what that stuff costs, and maybe we don't need to show that, so we can kind of customize that here. And then, of course, make sure you hit that fancy save button. The uploads. This one's interesting. So uploads are tiles. I'm sure if you've seen on the app, that first homepage, you've got a Start New Project button and a project map and a Sketchos button. Those are tiles on the home screen of the app. And you can actually upload PDFs or a direct URL link, maybe to your website or to a supplier's website. Anything that you want to access right there from the app, you can upload as a tile. So when you have the whole URL, so for instance with this Owens Corning, we just went to the Owens Corning website, grabbed the URL and entered that in here with a description and hit the add button. If it is a PDF document, that process is a little bit different. You want to hit this choose file and grab the PDF. Of course, I don't want to have one readily available, but that's all right. You get the idea. Grab that PDF and just hold tight. Wait for a couple minutes, and the URL will auto-populate in this box for you. And that will allow you to enter in a description and then add it as a tile. If you add the uploaded file too quickly and it didn't populate a URL, it's not going to create a tile for you. So you'll just want to delete that, and then of course just wait for that to populate when you choose that PDF file. Trades. Let's go to trades here. So trades, you want to make sure that you add the trades in the order in which you want them to appear on your documents. So our first, of course, was roofing. That's the main trade here in this office. And then we added gutters and a couple different trades. You can have as many of these as you want. And what this does is separates these out, and that way for things like your estimates or more specifically your material orders, those different trades are going to populate on different sections or different pages of your documents, making it a little more organized and user-friendly on those documents for you. The material sequence is the order in which your materials are organized on documents and also in your specification screen on the app. So this is a drag and drop. I can grab the ice and water shield and move it up to the very top. Probably don't want my ice and water shield to show first. This is completely customizable, up to you. Just drag and drop these where you want them in order of importance from top to bottom there, and organize all of these in the way that you want them to show up. I do recommend the material sequence. I would probably wait until you have set up your material categories and your materials, and we'll take a look at that in just a sec here. But once you have those kind of customized, then I would go back and kind of fine tune that material sequence. There's a sample office in your account when you first sign up in trial with us. And that has, well, let's just dive in. In the materials section, there's a sample account that you'll be offered there in RoofSnap, and there'll be a lot of products in there. We have a pretty wide database. I'm going to choose the correct office because I have 4 of them here in this account. I'm going to select the right one I want to work in here. But you can customize this, and so delete out any items that you may not need, as well as delete out categories and add new categories. So that material sequence really makes the most sense to do at the very end here. But now that I'm in materials and I have selected the office that I'm working in, I'm seeing this first category here, my decking, and I'm seeing just kind of the basic simple view with the line item name and the total price here. I want to dive in just a little deeper, and I want to see all of the fields that I have control over. So I'm going to hop into the detailed view here. And now it pulls in all of these cells for me. So I see my coverage, my labor, my material cost, and my factor. So let's take a look at some of the different categories of materials and the large categories up on the top that you'll see. So shingles is one of the categories, one of the main categories, materials, and then services. So we're going to start in shingles and just kind of take a look. On the side here, you'll see there's some categories plugged in here. You might see more on your sample account there, but you can delete any categories that you may not need if they don't pertain to you. And don't worry, if you delete a category and you actually need it, it's okay. It's down here in this trashed categories. I can actually click on this and I can see any of the categories that I have in fact trashed in the past, and I can recover those. So maybe if I want to recover this metal panel here in my shingles category, I can recover those and get that right back to my primary categories here. So let's take a look at some architectural shingles. I do want to draw your attention to a couple of things as you start to dive into this stuff. Again, feel free to clean this up and delete out anything that you may not need. You can do that as far as these line items just by checking in the box there and deleting those that you don't need. But everything is going to be set with a coverage and a material price and a factor. The labor is up to you. You can put in your labor as well, and the app will calculate all that for you. There's a couple of different ways that you can do labor, so we can kind of look at that as well. But the main punchline here is you always want to look at what the unit measurement is tied to. So for our shingles category, of course, that's going to be tied to square. Some of our material items are tied to linear feet, or they're each type items, which means it's a 1-to-1 kind of ratio there. So when we're talking about shingles, it's really important to specify the coverage. How many bundles does it take to cover 1 square? Because the unit of measurement that we're talking about is 1 square here in the shingles. So you would take your material price and you would multiply it by 3 and input that here in the material cost section. The factor Let me tap on this little question mark up here to show you where that factor comes from. So it kind of gives you a sense of where all this math is coming from here. But basically your factor is going to be your multiplier. So what multiplier you use depending on what your desired margin is. So if I wanted a 35% margin across the board, I would use a 1.54 multiplier for everything. So if I wanted to do that, I could change this to 1.54, and my total price is going to automatically change as well. If I wanted to have a certain total per square, and I'm not too concerned about having a consistent multiplier, I can change the total here, and that will automatically change my factor. So that's pretty easy to work with there. And now I've made a change here, and so my line item is coming up in this cream kind of color here. That just lets me know I've made a change and I want to make sure that I save it. So I'll press the save button here on the top, and it's going to turn back to white, letting me know that I've saved that change. Another thing to kind of look at, you do have control over the color options and certain settings within each line item. So if I tap on this gear bar here, the order description, this is what will show up on your material order. And this might be different than what your line item description is. Maybe your line item that shows up in the app and on your estimates needs to say more marketing-like terms like install and furnish, or things like that. And you can cut those out on your material order because your supplier doesn't need to know that you're installing this product. They just need to know what the product is. So any of these, if you hover over any of these little info buttons here on the back end, it'll kind of tell you what that is tied to. The category, you can set each item to its trade, and that way the app will know to separate each material according to the trade. And then the unit description, this is, again, what will show up on that material order for you. And it's the unit in which this item is ordered. So, of course, with shingles, we're talking about bundles. With nails, we might be talking about buckets or boxes. So you'll put the unit description in here. There's a couple more settings that you can look at in here as well. So if you want to have an item that you want to have on your estimate, but you don't necessarily need to show it on your estimate. Let me think of an example. Well, nails. That's a good one. So maybe you don't want to show how many nails per shingle you're going to use on your estimate. Maybe that's not something that you need your customer to see, but you need to calculate it for your purposes. And the app can do that for you. So you can have that in your specifications. You can plug in that as part of the total. And of course, it's going to show up on your material order, but you can hide it on the estimate. So your customer doesn't have to see that item. So you can kind of configure that on an item basis as well. Color options. So this GAF shingle here has a variety of color options. And not everybody has maybe access to all of these color options. Maybe in my neck of the woods, it's not available in Hunter Green. So I can click that and hide that color. So that way it doesn't show up on the app as a color option. I'm going to make that visible because I do want that color. But maybe you added a shingle of your own in here and from a supplier that we don't have in our database. You can definitely do that. I'll show you how to do that here in a moment. But you can upload all of the shingle colors just by uploading the image file from your computer. So this again will take you to your computer here. You can grab that file, name it, give it a color name, and then add it. And so you can upload and customize any of those color options as well. I'm going to click on cancel here at the bottom. So when talking about our database of materials and then being able to add your own, there is a search bar up here where you can type in, I'll type in GAF and it'll pull up all the GAF products that we've got here in our database. Again, if there's something that maybe you don't see, or something that maybe has a different name. So for instance, let's see, I don't know. Let's grab a shingle here. Oh, maybe I can't. Well, for our purposes, let's just grab this ridge. Maybe I want this image here, but I can rename it. And I can say that this is a generic ridge. Of course, I'd never want to add that into my shingles category, but you get the idea how you can add your own in here. Or you can just enter in a description, press the Add Material button, and it's going to show up just like this one is, with no image uploaded, and you can kind of make that change as well. So I don't want to save that because it doesn't pertain to this category. But you get the idea there. So materials, let's take a brief look at materials. These are looking at, some of these are looking at different units of measurement. So here in our roof decking, this is an each type item, so that 1-to-1 ratio. So of course, our coverage is going to be 1, and then whatever the material cost is for the whole product, our factor, and the total. You still have the same customizations here on the gear bar. So you still can put in your order description, assign it to a trade, give it its unit description, and have customization of where it shows up on the app. And if color options are applicable, you can add those in as well. So services, let's take a look at services here. These are not necessarily tied to material cost, but more geared toward labor. So for things like remove and dispose architectural shingles, here we don't have a material cost for that, but we do charge a labor cost for that, and we put a factor on that. And these are things that show up in different places in the app. So for instance, remove and dispose will show up in your materials on your specifications. These steep roof charges, these show up based on what pitch you assign to each facet. So, if you have a 10-12 pitch on the majority of your roof, it's going to automatically, the app will calculate this $15 price, plus your labor, so a total of $24.75 per square, additionally based on how many squares of the roof are 10-12. And this stuff will auto-populate when you assign the pitch, and of course you have your prices and labor stuff in here. That's going to automatically populate based on what you assign in the RoofSnap, and it'll automatically populate on your specifications screen. All right, so kind of just a basic overview of some of this account stuff. I didn't want to go into too much detail, but again, when you're done kind of taking a look at this and setting this stuff up, do feel free to go back to that material sequence in the office and order that in the correct order. I'm going to go back to the account page here. One last thing I would like to touch on with you. So I know we talked about some user settings and things like that. I just want to hop over to our pricing page real quick here. If you are in trial with us or a customer and maybe you've got some additional users that you want to add, here is some of our subscription plans here. We do have a month-to-month. It's $99 per month per user. So each additional user is $99. There's no commitment there, and unlimited projects can be created with that plan, and in fact with any of our plans. But when you hop up to some of our annual plans, when you've got multiple users, you do save quite a bit per user. So we've got a tandem plan here for the measurements and estimating functionality, that cost per user goes down to $64. You pay for that, of course, for the 12 months up front. But save quite a bit that way. We've got a 5 and a 10 user plan as well. And anything above 10, give us a call, and we'll kind of have a chat about that. But thank you very much for sticking with me today, going over some basic account setup. Again, if you have a chance and you're on our YouTube channel and you'd like to get a little more in detail, please feel free to view some of our other previously recorded live demos. Some of them go into a little more detail than I did today. I just wanted to kind of highlight the main features there. And then you can also go onto your account page and schedule a one-on-one with either myself or my colleague Jason, and get some one-on-one time to kind of take a look at your specific way of doing business and how you can kind of configure that in the account here in RoofSnap. So thanks so much for viewing this video, and if you like what we're doing, I guess click here to subscribe. And we'll have a link this way to the website where you can sign up for a 14-day free trial if you haven't already, or just access the website to start your account setup. All right, thanks so much, guys. It was a pleasure.